What's going on, family? Hope all is well with everybody out there in the world. Due to this COVID-19, everybody's running around, not trusting in God, not trusting in the process. Some people are like panicking. I'm here, I come here to bring a female speaker, man, to get some hope, man, get some inspiration, motivation, and dedication. See, if I don't stay dedicated to what I do, right, and I don't stay consistent, like to what I do, my disease will always interfere, like what I got going. Like I know for me, like I have to work a program. I have to surround myself around people that's really working on something today, right? Because if I don't do that, my disease will get the best of me. And I just come on here and just show y'all some love and support and bring a speaker on. Try to every night. This is not a easy job at all, but God gets all the glory. He does all the work. He makes sure each day that I have somebody to come through and share with all of you, because this is what it's about, sharing and caring and loving on each other, man. It's a tough time, but I have to trust in like what God's doing, man, in the world and how he's moving and unifying and putting people together, man, as a whole. And I just want y'all to take a time and close your eyes, man, and rewind that tape back when using was fun. So we're going to go in with the prayer. I take my hat off. I don't like to pray with a hat, and I'm going to pray my sister in, and I'm going to let God work through her tonight, man. All right. Lord Almighty God, I just want you to use our sister right here as a vehicle, as an inspiration to touch people that she needs to touch with her message. And if she struggles with any nervousness, any like low self-esteem, low self-worth, or lack of confidence, that you just remove that off of her and place the message that you want her to share about. And for the people that's out there struggling and don't know what's going on in the world, to wear a mask and not wear gloves, put that on their mind right now. To be cautious, it's called cross-contamination. A mask must be used throughout this country right now, this COVID-19, and to the people's families that was taken by this COVID-19 and the predecessors that was affected and lost to this insidious COVID disease. But we can't forget about the people, God, that's really struggling with active addiction. And I just want you to use me and her tonight as a vehicle, as a vessel, and you get all the glory, God. Amen. All right, so here we go. Inspirational freestyle recovery flow. What's up? What's going on, people? Let's get this shared out. Share this out through all your groups. Let's get this thing shared out. And I want to make an announcement. If anybody's struggling and you don't want to be in the center of attention on here, send me a message. There's Zoom meetings out there, man. Let's get them clean dates going in the comments. Let's get what you're grateful for. And drop them clean dates, man, and everybody share this out, man. Invite all your people to this page, because we need this in unity. It just ain't me. I don't get no glory for doing this. My passion is to help people and touch people on a deeper level and share some identification and some sick shit. Go ahead, sister. The floor is yours.
My name is Amanda, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. I want to start this off just by shedding some light on some inside feelings, right? Like Carl said, I am a little bit nervous, right? The disease is running rampant in my head right now. It's telling me I'm not good enough, that there's nobody that's going to hear anything out of what I say. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that I get myself out of the way and let the God of my understanding come in the way so that his message can be carried and not mine. And man, I'm really grateful to be here in this platform and to be given the opportunity to share where I come from a little bit and what I've been doing to stay clean no matter what, right? And I'm really grateful for my clean date. First and foremost, my clean date is 10/15/18. I just celebrated 18 months on Tuesday, and it's taken me a long time to get 18 months together again, man. Like, I've been in and out of recovery for 15 years, and it took me to like the depths of like hell on earth in order to get clean again. And I'm just really grateful for my clean date. I'm grateful for my recovery, and I'm grateful for like the people in my life that supported me no matter what, the people that continue to show up for me, because I have people that are like rooting for me and that support me and that are there for me today, and that truly believe in like who I am and what I'm working towards. And just a little bit of like where I come from. And I'm not going to focus on a whole lot of like what I did, what I used, where I went, who I hung out with, because all of that doesn't matter at the end of the day. But I do want people to identify, right? So I grew up in the Army. Both of my parents were military of service. And growing up, moving every 2 or 3 years, it was really hard to like lay down roots. It was really hard to build any kind of relationship with anybody. So I never really had friends. And so I remember like moving around so much and like wanting people to accept me. So I perpetrated to be a certain way so that they would accept me, like lying about who I was and where I came from, lying about the dynamic of my family, lying about why my color was this way and why my hair was this way, just so that you would accept me. Not realizing at the end of the day, it wasn't me that you were accepting. And, like, I moved around a lot. There was a lot of disease in my family. There was a lot of addiction in my family, not necessarily immediate, but my extended family. And, there was a lot of chaos in my home growing up. And like, thank God for recovery in all aspects, man, because like my family is recovering today. Like my parents are recovering today. My brother and sister are recovering today. And my children, like it's a family affair for real, for real. And I grew up, and ultimately I used a mind or mood altering substance for the first time when I was 13 years old, and it altered the course of my life. And from then on, nothing else mattered. All that mattered to me was like the ways and means to get more and to stay high. And for me, it was just about like I just didn't want to feel like I didn't belong anymore. I just didn't want to feel, period. And the drugs gave me a means to like escape. They gave me a means to just be numb and not have to deal with like all the chaos that was going on inside of my head, and like not understanding like how to figure all that out, how to cope with all that. I like turned to drugs, right? And then I ended up sexually assaulted several different times, as a young teenager. And then early adult life, I was sexually assaulted and in and out of jails, institutions, and prison and treatment centers and all kinds of stuff, man. And I remember just like the desperation. And the first time I was introduced to his 12-step fellowship, I was introduced in 2003. And I had a son, and he was 6 months old, and he was taken from me as a result of the choices I made in active addiction. And he was put into the foster care system. And I remember like my family telling me I had to do what the system told me to do in order to get my son back. But I remember thinking to myself, I'm not good enough for him. Like, why am I going to put forth all this effort when he deserves better than me? Right. And I remember like really struggling with like trying to do what my family wanted me to do when I didn't believe that that's what I was meant to do. And so I ended up leaving treatment early, and my son stayed in the system for 3 years. And ultimately I was able to like get some clean time. I was reintroduced to the program in July of 2005 through another treatment center, and through an H&I panel, where other addicts came into the facility and carried the message to me. And I remember like sitting in those meetings, hearing those other addicts, and they were women, right? And I got to hear their stories, and I got to hear like all the struggle they'd been through, and yet they got clean, and they were staying clean, and like their life was blossoming, and they were becoming all of these things. And I just remember being so full of hope. And so I got out, and I started working a program, and I stayed clean, and I got into a relationship, and I got pregnant, and he left me. and he got with another woman. And in this process, I was able to regain custody of my oldest son. So I was still like gaining all of these blessings, right? I was getting all these outside things. I had an amazing job. I had a car. I have full sole custody of 2 children. I was doing all the outside stuff, but none of the internal work, right? And so when um, life showed up in a very traumatic experience for me in December of 2007. A man broke into my home and he sexually assaulted me in front of my 4-year-old son. And I didn't handle that the way that it was suggested to me. I didn't go to meetings. I didn't work steps. I didn't call my sponsor. I didn't lean on my support group. And I didn't get professional help like I should have. And ultimately, 3 weeks after that event, I was relapsed. And from 2007 to 2018, I was off and running, and they say in the literature that I read that a relapse can be the jarring effect for a more rigorous application of the steps, right? And for me, like, it was like a time bomb, like a nuclear explosion, man, because the depths my addiction took me to, like, I was that addict that was out on the street corner holding a sign, like, "We'll do anything for change," right? And not the change on the inside, but the change from your pocket. And like living in a tool shed, taking a bath out of a toilet, like not eating, not washing, not bathing, not like anything. I was completely cut off from society, doing things that I never imagined myself doing, right? And I remember one day, like, I was living in a tool shed with my ex, and I remember just sitting there thinking, man, like, I'm killing my soul. Like, the depths of my disease was literally not just killing me physically, but it was killing me spiritually. And I remember thinking to myself, something's got to change, something's got to change. And then, like 2 weeks later, I was arrested for the last time. And I remember, like, telling the police officers, thank you. Like, thank you. You literally just saved my life. And I remember, like, getting into county jail and, like, still not really, like, wanting something to change, but not ready to give up the life yet. And the county jail in the city that I was arrested at is still really, really dirty. And so I was still able to, like, the ways and means to get and use more drugs inside county jail. And so I was arrested on August 18th. And for the first 2 months of my incarceration, I was still using on a daily basis. And again, man, like, thank God for the addicts who bring the message inside the facilities when we can't get out, right, to go to a meeting. Because there was 2 women who came into that facility, and one of them I'd known since my first time in recovery back in 03. And I remember, like, seeing her come in and, like, hearing her story and hearing her share about, like, going through some extremely painful things and, like, not fucking using no matter what, man. And I remember thinking to myself, like, damn, dude, she's still clean. She's still clean. She's still showing up for her recovery. She's still, like, doing the thing. And I remember thinking to myself, all right, Amanda, this is it. Like, I was on parole. I was in county jail with a whole nother felony charge on top of the parole stuff. And so, like, they told me I was going to go back to prison. And I remember, like, just laying in my bunk that night and thinking to myself, man, you got to do something different. And somebody in the dorm had a book, like, had a basic text, and I grabbed that book and I just started reading it again, like, just surrendering and reading the stories and reading the literature in the beginning, and reading chapter 10 and reading chapter 8 and reading, the who, what, why, all of that stuff, man. And I wrote a letter to this woman that I'd known for 15 years, and I was like, man, like, I'm done. I need some help. Will you please, like, be willing to sponsor me through mail, because I don't know how much time I'm facing. Because I had a second-degree felony that I was on parole for, and I'm going back to prison behind a third dope charge, right? And so I didn't know what I was looking at. There was a possibility that I would spend 10 years in prison. And I remember, like, getting that first letter back from her and being like, fuck yeah. She was, like, all for it, man. And, like, literally, I could only take some religious material, one religious book with me to the prison unit. So I wrote, like, in the back on the blank pages of the religious book the whole, like, assignment that she gave me, so that when I got to the unit, I could continue to do the reading assignment that she gave me, because I knew it would take a couple weeks to get a book. And I got to the new new unit, and I just kept at it, man. And transfer units or whatever. I was able to finally settle down in a home unit, and they started bringing meetings into there. And I remember going to these meetings and like just sharing and continuing to write my sponsor, and continuing to do the things that she suggested to me. Like being of service, I helped start a 12-step meeting in there for the fellowship that I prefer to go to. And like we kept those meetings going regularly twice a week. Whether or not somebody else showed up, it was me and another addict always. And I remember like thinking to myself, man, I had ruined my life so much in my addiction that I didn't know I didn't have clothes to leave in. I didn't have money to leave with. I didn't know how I was going to get picked up from the release unit. And like a little bit backwards, right? I didn't know how much time I was going to do. They ended up dropping the third felony charge when I hit the new unit. They let it go. And when I came up for parole at 3 months, they granted me parole on the completion of a program. So like that's the God of my understanding working in my life, right? Like working miracles. I ended up only doing 11 months in prison this time. And I just started doing the footwork. I got a list of places to go and started writing them, right? And this whole time I'm writing my sponsors, so I get a response from one place. I wrote 57 places asking for room and board, right? Letting them know that I was willing to do whatever it took. 57 places, I got one response. And when I got the response letter back, I looked at the address on the return section, and the zip code was the same zip code as my sponsor. So I knew that it was like some divine intervention for me, right? Like again, the God of my understanding building that relationship with me while I worked on my end building a relationship with him. And I remember getting out and like I said, I didn't know how I was going to get picked up, but I literally had written my dad. And a little quick story, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. A quick story is like I had participated in this religious retreat on the unit, and I didn't get any visits the whole time I was locked up. But one time in the middle of this retreat, they announced me for a visit, and I thought they were all confused. I'm like, no way, I don't get visits. They don't come to see me. And I walk out to the visitation room, and it's my father with my 2 sons. And I was so overwhelmed with gratitude that I could barely make it to the table to sit down and visit with them, right? And I remember sitting at that table and my father looking me in the eyes and him telling me, Amanda, I can see the light again in your eyes. And I remember asking him, I was like, Dad, I don't know how I'm going to get home. I don't really know. At that point, I didn't know where home was. And I told him, I don't want to go back to where I come from. I want to like move a little bit away. Like I needed to make a geographical change for my own sanity and for my own physical health, right? So he was like, okay, if you decide to make that change, you find somewhere to go, let me know. I'll come pick you up. And so, like, I get the release information, I send it to him. There's no two-way communication with my dad. He's real bad at writing. If you know anybody that's in prison right now, please write them letters, man. Write them letters, because that means a lot. It means a lot. And I remember getting out, and I remember like looking through the window, wondering if my dad's gonna show up, right? And I remember seeing his car pull up, and I just was so overjoyed and overwhelmed with gratitude, right? And like the God of my understanding continuing to show up for me no matter what, man, he shows up for me. And so like I get in the car and he drops me off at this beautiful home, and I have like this really great eye-opening experience like on a spiritual faith level at this place that I went to, right? And I started going to meetings, man. Meeting makers make it, dude. And like where I come from, they suggest 90 meetings in 90 days. And that's not to say that you need to go to like 9 meetings in 10 days. You need to go to a meeting a day for 90 days. Like you got to change old habits and replace them with new ones, right? So I start going to meetings. And I needed to make some change from that living situation that I released to, because it wasn't really it wasn't 12-step based, man. And the 12 steps is what saved my life. And I needed something more 12-step based. So I moved from that home into a 12-step based recovery home. And man, it's been such a blessing. Like I get to live with 8 beautiful other women, right? And all of us are actively working 12-step programs. And I love these women, man. Like, they help me see myself for who I really am, right? And I continue to like show up for my recovery. I'm of service. I have a home group. And I show up for my home group to the best of my ability, and I show up to like the women in my life, and I have two women that saw fit to ask me to sponsor them, and I'm all like, what, do you know who I am? I don't really think you know, but all right, I'll do it, right? Whatever God places in my path. And man, just with these two sponsees, they're amazing, right? It's such a blessing to be able to like share with somebody and to be able to hear them like go through some things and go through some feelings and trust me with those feelings and trust me with those experiences. And you know, it's been quite a journey. I'm working on some step work right now, and you know, I'm working on a 4-step, and it's the first major inventory that we make in the 12-step fellowship, right? In this 4-step, man, it can get pretty intense, but I'm at a point of surrender where I'm just willing to like let the layers go. Like, I'm so tired of living in the lie. I'm so tired of having the mask on. I'm so tired of perpetrating to be
Come
somebody
on.
I'm not really am. Right? And like, I'm a beautiful fucking person, dude. Not just on the outside. I'm pretty on the outside. But I'm really fucking pretty on the inside too. And I'm really fucking smart, dude. And I'm funny as hell. And I'm genuine and I'm compassionate. And like, beyond all my defects, I have some assets today too that I can get in touch with, right? And man, I'm really just like grateful for the process. And I'm grateful like for my sponsor, man. Like, she gets to share with me like her truth, you know, when like life hasn't been easy for any of us. And I'm grateful that I've gotten to experience this journey with her as well, man. And you know, the little bit of the blessings that have happened to me like just in the past couple of weeks, right? I get to continue working. I get to continue to have like this job, right? So I'm that addict that never kept the fucking job. The longest time I ever had a job was like 64 days, and that's because it was overnight and I could really just do nothing all day long. I've had this job for 5.5 months now, dude. And 5.5 months is like a miracle for me. And not only do I continue to show up for my job, but like I'm a top performer in my department, right?
Come
And
on.
I never,
No.
I've never had like a company support me as much as this company does. Like, my bosses all know I'm in recovery, and they all check in with me at least once a week. Amanda, how are you doing?
Give him the
How are you
hope.
feeling? How's your headspace? Like, my bosses that are not in recovery, to my knowledge, are checking on me, man. Like, because I'm honest with other people that I interact with on a daily basis about where I come from and who I am. They do this for me, you know what I mean? And it allows me the opportunity to like share my story with people who might not understand what's going on their insides. And then I have people that come to me like after hours at work and be like, hey, I got this issue, or hey, I got that issue, can you help me? And it's a blessing to be of service no matter how it comes out, right? And not only do I have this job, but I've paid my own bills in my own home, in my own bed for 6 months now. Um, Yesterday, I had groceries delivered to my house. I've never been able to like fill up my fridge and my pantry out of my own hard-earned money before, and I'm literally putting the groceries away, right? And I just started crying. Like, thank you, God, for the food that you've given me, because I know that I'm not confused. I know that this is not my will, right? Like, this is like God's will for my life. This morning, like, I have dreams that the fellowship that I go to, lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise, right? And I had this dream of like giving back to the community, and I want to grow up someday, and I want to be a trauma counselor, right? And like have like a PhD behind my name, so y'all have to call me doctor and stuff. And I started that process this morning. I took like the first step into training for that long-term goal this morning, and I got a 95 on my assessment test. Man, I ain't never passed no test in my life. Never got a positive thing on my life except for a drug test.
Yeah.
And it's just been such a blessing, man. Like all these little gifts, like paying my own bills, um, like the food in my fridge, the food in my pantry, the people in my life, like all the learning experiences that I go through on a daily basis, the many spiritual awakenings that happen to me, and only because of my recovery, only because I value my clean date above all else. If your clean date stays the same, then you don't have to worry about anything else, man. Then like if you ain't relapsed, don't worry about it. I did it for you. You don't have to. The shit is just as bad, if not worse, out there than when you got clean. You don't ever have to fucking use again, man. Don't ever forget that. And I really don't think I can share for a whole 30 minutes. But
You got 25 in. So let me ask you some questions. Let me ask you some questions right now then.
Okay.
You gave it up, girl. Proud of you. You're an inspiration. Let's
Thank
get
you.
up clap. Get them hearts going. Throw them hearts up. So like what I want to touch on right now and ask you some questions is like, what do you have struggled with now? Like, did you ever like seek validation through men, like to be loved, to be accepted, or like touch on some things? It's a raw and uncut.
Wow, like you spotted, you got it or what?
I mean, we all did
So,
that.
yeah, like I participated in a lot of behaviors out there in addiction, and they transferred back into my recovery, right? And relationships, man, like relationships can be some detrimental things to your recovery. And this
Touch on.
time I learned a hard lesson from my first time clean, right? Um, this time I did get into a relationship not long after I got out of prison, but I quickly realized the pattern that was presenting itself was too similar to the pattern I was living in when I was clean the first time. And I ended that relationship after about 5 weeks, completely cut it off, and I've had no contact with him. I'm now, I was challenged by my amazing roommates to go without a relationship for 6 months. And the current state of affairs has helped that.
Yeah.
So I am not participating in any kind of physically intimate relationship right now until August or later.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely sought validation in intimacy. I sought validation even in just monogamous or platonic, where you're not physically intimate. I can't think
Yeah.
of which word it is. Friendships, like manipulating people emotionally so that they'll give me what I want them to give me. But like all of that is a lie, all of that is a mask, and I'm able to recognize that today, you know?
Absolutely. And so like, do you ever like struggle with like thinking that you're not like you should be farther into your recovery and you should like get blessed more than where you're at today? Like
So
place some realistic expectations on things and stuff like that.
I give a lot of credit to my recovery from before, but I'm grateful for that relapse. I'm grateful for the depth of active addiction that I went through since then. I did struggle when I made the decision to change my life while I was locked up and a little bit in prison. Like I should be somewhere different. I should be further away or further, closer to this. But my reality is my feet are where I'm at, and I'm okay with the work that I've done today. Like I've done a lot of work on the inside today, and I'm grateful for the little things, man. Like I'm not worried about like, oh, where this is where I should be or this is where I've come from. None of that today matters anymore.
Yeah, and I just want to take time to like thank all my people that was on tonight. Like I don't forget about you. It's time to turn this page into a business now. And like I've been looking on the page and a lot of people told me, man, like, you know what I mean? You gotta step it up. And your story was like so impacting. You could feel the pain and trauma that I can identify with, like, because I was molested as a kid, right? And I didn't want to come into the rooms and share that with people, right? Because I was raised up tough, had a mask on. I didn't know nothing what was a mask. What a mask was. The mask is basically like an image that we put on this front that we're somebody, but deep down inside, everybody in recovery, we are sensitive people. So
Yeah.
somebody say something to us, it hurts our feelings, right? Emotions, they pass and shit. It's okay to feel like the way you're feeling right now. Everybody, if you're feeling like you're like insecure, it's okay to feel them feelings. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to use over that, because I know for me, an addict trying to get clean for 18 years, and the clean date I'm coming up on, the clean date I have now, was a lesson for me to buy into this program that
Right.
I work, right? It
Right.
basically what you said, recovery and relapse, right? I can't quote literature because I believe that the all the fucking drugs that they gave me as a little kid, and I shared this on the outside in a meeting, and I down in Baltimore, they called me to share, and I touched on it, and the lady hit the raise hand button, and she said, "Damn, my son's going through that. What you just went through." That's the
Mm.
hope, man. That's the identification that we
Yeah.
give off. But if
Yeah.
I continue to read it, but I got to get outside my pride and ego, and I got to ask somebody, but I got to allow someone to sponsor me, right? I don't know all the answers. You know, the remix, oh, I know. Yeah, but
Yeah.
nothing. You don't know
Yeah.
nothing. You know what I mean? But I just want to take a time to thank you from the bottom of my heart and the people that you have touched on this page. And God worked through you tonight because they were tears of gratitude, greatness. You're a successful person now. You know what I mean? The pain and trauma that you went through, you could share that with people inside the fellowship, because you know what I mean? I believe like we must be ourselves, man. And
Yeah.
sharing,
Authentically.
because addicts literally dying inside to hear that. We
Yeah.
must be ourselves, like step 12. That's
Yeah.
one thing I can grasp on. And that how it works. I don't know, man. You just touched a lot of people. You touched me, man, because I felt the passion and the enthusiasm and the tears and like the transformation where you're going at, man. You're going to help a lot of. I see you maybe in a recovery event one day outside, sharing your story seriously, because you say you're trying to be like an advocate, and people
Yeah.
have told me, Carl, you don't have to have a paper behind you, Carl. You're already an advocate. And I used to receive like hate and like jealousy and envy because from people from the fellowship. And why I'm sharing this, because I got judged all the time for doing this, right? But I I noticed when I got the PA, I judged some people. I had to envy some people, right? Because they was far
Wow.
along,
Yeah.
and where I is, and why I share all this shit on the page, because what you see is what you'll meet at a convention, is
Yeah.
what you'll meet. Like I let you talk to my girl, like I treat her the way I want my grandmother treated, the way I
Right.
see my grandmother, right? Treating my, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My grandfather, right? My grandfather treating, my grandmother the way she deserves to be treated, right? Because I take a look and I think like losing my sister right here, right? And my sister, y'all, she died to an overdose, right? And everybody wants to say something for me doing these live streams. The money was raised in 8 hours from the fellowship.
Wow.
Yeah. Some hope, man, because my man showed up. He slept on the couch, and I started to believe and trust in the process. But the process, this work is real. The process didn't start for Carl until he started to do some work.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
say, I never heard that. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing all these people. Us as addicts, we can always put some dope fiend cut on our message, right?
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't
Oh
sugarcoat
yeah.
on this page, man. Us as addicts, right? So we're receiving all these information of whatever's going on in these CDs or whatever's going on, right? So I just want to know, like, came to believe, like, if you're talking about somebody, you might want to share your experience on the podium. You
Oof.
might want to share your secrets on the motherfucking podium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this ain't no sugar water inspirational flow. What you see is what you get, raw and uncut and transparent and vulnerable, because that's what I believe. That's why I've been reaching people, because God is allowing me to use this platform. If it wasn't of God, he would have snatched it already and say, oh, you ain't doing my work. And
Right.
I just came to believe, like, I share the conventions. I share, that, like, that shit don't mean to me. Like, what am I doing for the person coming in broken, beaten, hopeless, don't think they have a purpose, but turn them into that purpose and show them that there is hope. But you got to listen, because I didn't want to listen. She probably didn't want to listen.
Yeah.
That's why I relapsed. That's probably why you relapsed. Because
Yeah.
we thought we can do this shit on our own, really.
Wasn't doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all the outside stuff doesn't matter anymore. Like it doesn't, money, property, prestige, none of that matters. It's an inside job for real, for real. Like you've got to like start doing all the work to uncover all of that pain so you can face it. And if you don't face all that pain, it's just going to sit in there and continue to simmer. You know, like we have a choice today. As long as we're not putting drugs in our body, we have a fucking choice. It's real simple.
Yeah, you
Like,
blew it
don't
up.
go to 12-step meetings and not work the fucking 12 steps.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So you blew it up tonight. You'll see. You got a lot of love, man. Let's get them hearts up. Let's get them if you're just tuning in, Inspirational Flow is a platform, right? But it's a platform that God is in the picture, right? Because I believe when I was in that city mission and God had given me that vision, what I shared with you, but I share this all the time. Once I self-will some shit, that's when I get high.
Yeah.
I do believe that. And that's when God is say, this ain't of God. Let me get this. And I just really appreciate you for like getting transparent and vulnerable and honest, from what a predecessor told me, like what share from the heart touches the heart, man. And
Definitely.
that you're an inspiration, and like you deserve, like, you know what I mean, a good dude that treats you good, and like don't make
If
me
it's
come
God's
looking
will.
for any of you dudes.
If
Oh,
it's God's will,
yeah, that's what I'm
I'm
saying. Like
not looking.
it was
If it's
God's
God's
will for me to get
will.
in, but it was self will. Like, this is my situation. This is my story. I'm gonna share this with y'all because some people might have not heard it, and their friends or whatever. So my story is, I was in a city mission, and I met my girl. I had sold her a piece of my clothing, but I didn't really know that, like, once you sleep with somebody clean, some feelings get
Mm,
involved, right? So
mm,
when I carried a couch in her house and I had sex with her intimately, I started to feel some type of way, right? But she
mm.
was dating this guy. He had OD'd on her couch, and she didn't want a piece of shit. I never had a job, always lived off of Social Security. And she was like, motherfucker, you're going to get a job. And I went and got a job. I got fired from the job because there was a guy in there feeling on younger women, and all the spiritual principles and shit that I try to apply, I just fucking lost it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just not okay with being okay and watching shit go down. How
Yeah.
about that? And
Yeah.
I just lost it, man. I got tired of working there with the dude. They were smoking weed on a job. It was really chaos and confusion at the job. And I got fired, man. But like, the hope is, like, we stay together, man. And we just get through it and shit. And after all this is said and done, like, I'm going back to school to get my GED. I want to better myself. I don't want to stay stagnant and let, like, complacent and let the disease, like, be progressive and start progressing. Like, I base my disease, like, off a pack of wolves in Alaska. But I appreciate you for coming on, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You got anything to say?
It works if you work it. Don't use no matter fucking what.
Yeah. Thank you, sis. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Y'all, this was a good one, boy. Let's pray out. And that God take over. Lord, Almighty God, I just want you to use her as a vehicle. Allow her message to touch people. And for the people that's out there struggling in the world, just to hold on, pain ends, and just be with everybody struggling with the coronavirus. Amen. Inspirational